Alf, maybe we're just a little bit out of touch. And for many, you'd say like, yes, of course, there's certain cards that are hitting all-time highs. But I've been following some of this data, and there's certain cards that are hitting all-time highs, and I'm like, what? Not even just hitting all-time highs, but the percentages if we're looking over the past year. We're going to dive into the specifics, but before I do, huge thanks to channel partners Card Capsule. You need a case for the National? This is the place to go. Quality cases, waterproof stuff, great pricing, quality products, and top loaders, semi-rigids, all the supplies that you possibly need. And as you probably guessed in my video description and pinned comments, all the hobby discounts, and there is a Card Capsule discount as well. JustCollect.com, you've got a collection to sell or maybe part of your collection, whether it's vintage or modern, you have no idea what is it worth. Easy appraisal form on the Just Collect website, and also make sure to check out the Just Collect YouTube channel. Leighton Sheldon interviewing industry folks, hobbyists, a lot to learn there at the Just Collect YouTube channel. And of course, PSA, you never submitted with PSA, take $25 off your first submission over there, SCD25. Tell a friend, spread the word. Let's have everybody get $25 off that first submission over at PSA, SCD25 code at the shipping and billing screen. All right, what are we talking about today? No secret that the trading card hobby in terms of volume is absolutely on fire. But some of the higher end sales and actually some of the medium to high end stuff, it's still just ratcheting up. It's amazing, some of these price points. And I'm going to use some examples. And what I'm going to draw to for data here is I get a daily email from Card Ladder. And Card Ladder will send me this email that basically says, hey, here's some of the all-time high sales that have popped up. And it's every single day. Every single day, there are at least 2, 3, a handful of cards that have hit all-time highs. We'll start with a couple cards. The first one will just be non-sports. It's the only non-sports card here in the video. It's, of course, the 1977 rookie card Star Wars set. It's the Princess Leia Organa. It's a PSA 10, so granted here, pop 15. So this is a pretty low pop card. So, of course, we have to take that into account. It set an all-time record at $10,850 here recently over the last week via auction with eBay. This card a year ago in a PSA 10 sold for $5,600. It's almost 100% up. If we're comparing it to a year ago, I know that Star Wars cards are popular for sure, and this is Pop 15, so there could be a huge variance in prices because they probably just don't sell very much. But a lot of the focus nowadays is on the ultra modern, those new release Star Wars sets. There are collectors certainly for the vintage stuff, but I was just surprised to see that this thing doubled, almost doubled over the last year. Let's go to a baseball player that's absolutely red hot. But again, it's not just the player, but it's the actual percentage growth over the last 12 months. What we're talking about here is the 2013 Bowman Draft Picks and Prospects, the Aaron Judge Chrome Draft Pick Autograph Refractor. Man, say that 7 times fast. In a PSA 9, so there's 73 in a PSA 9. A record high, $4,440 here over the last few days via auction with Fanatics Weekly. This card sold for $1,400 and change going back a year earlier. And it's not as if a year ago Aaron Judge was a nobody. It's not as if a year ago Aaron Judge hadn't done anything in the league or anything like that. I mean, he'd already been accomplished, already established himself as kind of that next Yankee. And yet here we have this card that's up 210%. This is a $3,000 difference in just 12 months. All right, next up, here's another couple of cards. Now this one, okay, it actually makes a little bit of sense to me. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, had an MVP level season in the league. He's fighting for his first title, man. If the Thunder can get that title, that would be unbelievable. But we've got a card here, a 2018 National Treasures SGA rookie patch autograph numbered to 99. This one in particular, a BGS 9.5 with an auto 10. This is a Pop 19 and a BGS 9.5. Set an all-time high when it sold for $92,000 and change here about 3 weeks ago. The card a year ago had sold for $26,000, almost $27,000. So we're talking almost 250% of a difference, $65,000 difference between these two sales in less than a year. And again, I understand that he had a great season, and maybe this is considered kind of that breakout season. If they can finish the job, then SGA kind of goes down as, okay, he's got a title under his belt, MVP level season, top 5 player in the NBA, and things start to shift a little bit as far as his legacy goes. But again, lots of speculation money here on this SGA card. But again, we're just talking about a 12-month difference, and this thing seeing a hefty difference in price. Let's look at vintage, because this is the stuff that's actually going to shock you a little bit, I think, is a lot of times people think, yeah, vintage is, yeah, slow and steady. Well, not all vintage is slow and steady. Granted, this card I'm going to talk about is a little bit more on the higher end, but let's just talk about it. So it's a 93 Gaudy Babe Ruth. It's the green background, PSA 3.5. So we're not talking about a super high grade version, Pop 28. Still not a ton of them, but not a one of one. It just happens to be iconic player, iconic set, 33 Gaudy. Recently sold a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago approximately, for $27,600. A year ago, a card in a 3.5 sold for $15,600. Almost 77% up difference. That's $12,000 difference. Now, granted, with vintage cards, it's all about eye appeal. You can have one 3.5 that looks very different than another. So that's the caveat here with vintage cards, is there can be a variance in price just based on the quality of the 3 or the quality of the 2 or the 1 or the 5 or whatever you're getting. So just something to keep in mind, as we're looking at these. 52 Topps Mickey Mantle, arguably the most important, most iconic hobby card. 52 Topps Mickey Mantle in an SGC4, Pop 59. And again, 52 Topps Mantles, they're not scarce. I mean, they are around. Hell, go to the National in Chicago at the end of July, and you'll see a lot of these cards. They are out there. But so when you look at this, it sold a couple weeks ago. REA sold it. Shout out to the friends at REA. $108,000. This card sold for $77,000 a year ago in an SGC4. And again, just like what I said with the other card with the 33 Gaudy, eye appeal is going to be big on this. But we're talking about a 40% difference, a $30,000 difference with the same grade in a year. That is absolutely insane. And we'll finish out here with a couple more modern cards. This one I actually covered with Brian Dwyer, president over at REA. We did our live stream to talk about it. 2000 Bowman Tom Brady Gold. So this is not the Bowman Chrome. It's just a regular Bowman release. It's the gold out of 99 and a PSA 8, Pop 14. This one, it's a funny story with this card. This was literally, and I think we're going to hear a lot of this with early 2000s cards and maybe just kind of cards now when we're talking 20, 30 years down the road. People finding numbered cards and being like, this one actually is probably worth a little bit more money. This card was in a binder, literally, and the family was like, this one is numbered. This one's a little bit different than the other, the other Bowman Tom Brady cards. It's the gold version out of 99. They got it graded recently, and it sold for $33,600 here about a week ago on REA. If we go back 2 years ago for this card, $15,600 price tag. So we're talking up over 100%, 115% difference, an $18,000 difference in 2 years. And this is where we kind of think of this as a sports card market as, it's pretty stable, and it's pretty, kind of flat in a lot of ways. Some of these cards, not at all flat. They've done tremendously. We'll end with a 90s Michael Jordan card, since there's all the 90s, insert folks. They love these, and the Michael Jordan card collector base is huge. And this one, again, when we're talking about cards, not a mega scarce card, just happens to be in a PSA 10 here, but we're talking about the 94 Finest Michael Jordan refractor without the coating and a PSA 10 Pop 41, a record high at $7,900 going back a couple weeks ago on eBay, but literally a year ago, $4,400 sale. And it was also a 10. So we're talking literally a 78% increase, approximately $3,400 increase in just a year on some of these cards. And if we notice a pattern with a lot of these, there is, of course, SGA, and I used, Aaron Judge. These are players that are playing kind of rising stars, in their respective leagues, but these are GOAT cards. And I think it just shows that there's more money flowing to the GOATs. Tom Brady, Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan were people that we covered here, athletes that we had covered. Shout out to Michael Jordan's going to join NBC on their media team. That's interesting as hell. I wonder how that's going to turn out. And with him being more public and in the limelight, does that help or hurt his card market? I guess we'll find out. It's just interesting because he's kind of been the recluse GOAT. He's a guy, he still does commercials and he's still out in public doing, charitable things. But for the most part, Michael Jordan, I don't even think he has social media. And now he's going to be on NBC talking basketball. I'm actually really excited to see this. But again, just kind of going to that card market, it's so nuanced. It's so nuanced as to what's going on at any given point. There's 100+ years of sports cards. Non-sports don't even get me started. That's a whole different ball game. But sports cards, 100+ years. And depending on kind of which niche you're looking at and focusing in on, there are some really interesting plays, if you will, if you're speculating, or some would say, investing for the long term on some of these cards. I was just really surprised to see in a short year where really we've been talking about a lot of economic issues and that sort of stuff. Some of these cards are more high-end cards. If we're talking about $10,000 plus, but also some of them are in the kind of the $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 range that have moved up. These are obviously just recent examples that Card Ladder threw out over the last week. But like I said, every single day there's an email that goes out talking about an all-time high for a particular card, and it might be sports card, it might be one of the GOATs, it might be a current player, it might be Pokemon. It's all over the place. So, it's not just segmented into, oh, this is the stuff that's going up, 90s inserts. Or, I was surprised to see a lot of vintage cards hit these lists, coming out. And again, vintage is kind of thought of as slow and steady. You're not going to see big price changes. Well, and not even just in very rare vintage, maybe high grade versions of cards, but it could be mid-grade Satchel Paige rookie card that is selling for a record high price. And while I know a lot of the hobby is going to be in the dollar boxes and buying kind of lower end stuff, there's fantastic cards at all price points. I do think it's interesting to see that mid-level and the high end still continues to rage on, whether we're talking about sports cards, Pokemon, non-sports. It's the trading card industry's biggest boom. I don't think that there's really any denying that at this point. All right, my friends, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit all the discounts there. The hobby discounts are there for you. I didn't mention SlabMags, but there's also a 10% off SlabMags. If you want to display your cards like a boss and protect the surface and the autographs, UV protection with the SlabMag, 10% off with the Sports Card Dad code. Friends, have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.